On this Independence Weekend, we take this holy moment and direct our thoughts to turn within. We open our spiritual eyes and pray, affirming independence and freedom for all. We know that independence allows us to be fully ourselves. And in case you've forgotten, I'm going to remind you what unity is. Unity is a positive, practical, progressive approach to Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus, the healing power of prayer that honors the truth in all religions and spiritual paths. You all know that unity was founded by Charles and Myrtle back in 1889. And who we are as unity is unapologetically inclusive. It is our intention to leave no one out. This morning, I'm going to list them all that I can. And if you can think of something that I have forgotten, please feel free to tell me. So let's start with LGBTQIA2S+. Now, what does LGBTQIA2S+ mean? Well, it's an acronym for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer and/or questioning, intersex, asexual, gender fluid, non-binary, two-spirit, and the countless affirmative ways in which people choose to self-identify. If you are black or brown or something in between, you are welcome. If you are a straight white woman, you are welcome. If you are a straight white man, you're welcome. We haven't been welcoming those straight white men lately, and so I want to specifically include them. You know what? If you're a conservative, you're included. If you're a liberal, you're included. If you're old, you're included. If you're young, you're included. Did I leave anybody out? You think? Because that's honestly what, we say all are welcome here. We talk about oneness, and we know what we mean, but it was only in the last 2.5 weeks that I discovered, quite by accident, that we sometimes offend straight white men by not specifically including them. And I thought, yay, straight white men. I have always liked them. I have a preference for them. However, so I decided that I want to list, at least today, because Independence Day is for everyone. So, there you go. You were welcomed, and it only took 5 minutes, it's not a big deal. So, I invite you to join me in our statement of faith, and I'm going to refer back to it later. And so you might make note of what you're actually saying this morning. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Our prayer chaplain for today is licensed Unity teacher Penny Ware, fresh from the village. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you. So let's just relax and just take a moment to focus on your breathing. You may close your eyes if you choose. Feel your seat supporting you. And as you inhale and exhale, you focus this awareness on your breath. And you are reminded that these words are your words. I am grateful for the freedom to do or to be. Just breathe that into your body and just know that truth. I am grateful for the freedom to do or to be. Today, I rejoice in the freedom to express my full and glorious potential. aligned with spirit, I find my true power, the power that is within, that frees me to be all that I am. I am a beloved child of God, born in the spirit of freedom, and I love knowing I am free to do and to be who I truly am. And in my freedom, I have choices. I can choose the love of people over the love of things. I can choose joy over fear and worry. I can choose to be at peace during conflict or turmoil. I can choose serenity when there is uncertainty. I choose my thinking, thought by thought, to reflect my divine essence. I choose to release any limitations or negativity. I am reminded in my breath, I am grateful for the freedom to do or to be. The past has no power over me. I am free to begin my life anew, centered in God's wisdom, light, and love. I am grateful for the freedom to do or to be. And so it is. Amen.
So since some of you haven't been here before, you don't know that each of you get to talk as much as I do if you would like. And you're absolutely under no obligation to say a word if you don't want to. And it doesn't matter if you're in the front row or the back row. We do ask that you use the microphone primarily so that the people at home can hear what you're saying. We have some very faithful congregants from Colorado and back in Ohio that listen to us every week when our talk comes out. So we want to hear your wisdom as well as mine. So I'm curious, this church and many other churches use this version of the prayer for protection these days. And when we say this, by the way, Reverend Paul Hasselback, who teaches for UWSI, is the one who added those phrases. And you are the light of God. You express the love of God. You enact the power of God. You are the presence of God. And it's because of your presence that all is well. And I'm wondering how that feels for you. When I first started to look at it that way, even though I'd been a Unity minister for many years, it was pretty daunting to think that it's my job to be all that. Some lucky Christians believe in an outer God that makes it happen. We ain't those folks. We know that we are the ones. And so, how are you doing with that out there?
Forgive me if I get emotional because I feel things very deeply. And I cry when I'm happy, I cry when I'm sad, I cry when a patriotic song plays, etc. I have my own issue, thank you. I come prepared. Bless
Good.
you.
We do too.
This is where I am right now in this moment. I've dedicated my life to serving God. And I pray that I can be an instrument of God's peace, joy, understanding, compassion, and most of all, love for God, for myself, and for others. Wherever I come across people, I see everybody as my brother or sister. We're all one. So embodying this prayer for protection is very empowering to me. And I've reached the point in my life where I trust God completely. I turn to prayer.
May I I'm going to say, so you trust yourself completely.
I trust the God presence in me, the
right.
God I am. I am the light of the world. I am an individualized expression of God in this place and time.
Mm-hmm.
And from that place, I enjoy my life. I'm filled with the joy of God. And I do my best to live in the present moment, reflecting on the past and knowing that that's what's brought me to here. And despite the ups and downs and the uncertainty of life, I've accepted that. And I look forward to my future with hope. And I'm on fire. So that's where I am.
Awesome.
I am ecstatic to be alive, and I praise God wherever I can, and I make connections with people at a heart level. And my motto has been for many years, it's easy to be kind. I'll leave it with that.
Thank you. Somebody else?
Thank you. I have a great fear of public speaking, but what I need to share today is something that I've experienced over many years, writing things or singing, playing music, and always feeling not good enough. I can't get up here like your other folks and share that. I'm not good enough. But in recent years, I've come to understand that it's not me. That for me to say, this poem is not good enough, is saying that I'm not a child of God, that it didn't come through me. It's not mine to keep and hold. It's for me to share. Mm-hmm. And to continue to recognize that the power that is in me is God. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. So when you look at the 12 powers, and I have to tell you that as a Unity minister, I taught these for years and they didn't mean a thing to me. I didn't relate to them. I mean, I recited the lessons, I recited the words, but it wasn't until I actually understood the fact that none of us did a thing to have those qualities. It's not like you went out and worked to get those qualities. They came with you. Love is not something that you acquired. Now it's something you can hone, strength, or you can open to more of it. Now, there's this strength, but then there's also the inner strength to get up and do the things that you're afraid you can't do. And the wisdom to do the things that you think you can't do, and power, and all of your creativity. And we all are creative beings, if we'll allow it to come forth. Understanding, where do we find the ability to deal with the people that are really, 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 really hard for us to deal with? Because the pesky part about what we teach is whoever is the hardest for you to deal with, I don't care if you're related to them or they're in a power structure or if they live down the street, they have all this within them too. So how do we do with that? Because we can understand. and we have the will. We get to choose. And we choose order in our life. Now, whether that means you rearrange your closets or whether it means you do things methodically, there's a lot of interpretation for these words, but they're part of who we are. They are a gift from the divine consciousness that you bring to this room. The interesting thing to me is that when we were oozing up from the first existence of life in the slime, back in the Paleozoic era, I think, which is about 4,540 million years ago, our consciousness created this. Our consciousness created life. And as we evolve, as we grow, as we learn, as we mature spiritually, we can do it better. We've got us to here. Now, it took a while, but we wouldn't be in the place we are, if we hadn't been evolving every minute of those millions of years. So the very life that we live, in a sense, we've created. And it's a challenge to not talk about an outer God. We're geared to that language because we were raised in this culture. And it's not like we want to go around. You might remember years ago Shirley MacLaine standing on the beach going, "I am God." No, that's not what we want to do. But we want to live from that place. Totally different thing. So each of those is a part of us. And do you ever think, isn't this interesting? So now I'll take the 7 chakras. So the 7 chakras, the crown chakra is our spiritual connection. The third eye is intuition and imagination. The throat is about communication. The heart is about love. Solar plexus is confidence, strength. Isn't that interesting? And the sacral is creative energy, our imagination. And the root chakra is stability. Isn't it interesting that in the Hindu culture, thousands of years ago, they created almost the same energy centers that Charles Fillmore did. Now, I have to tell you a secret. Charles Fillmore borrowed from the Hindus. But Charles Fillmore was attached to having it be 12 disciples. So he got one for each one. Charles put everything in 12s because everything was interpreted metaphysically from the Bible. So that's why there's 12, because part of my rebellion years ago was, how come it's not 13? Could be 11. Why 12? I hate to admit that I have that personality, but I do. But I have mostly gotten over that. So when you find, that's why our statement says, and honors the truth in all religions and spiritual paths. When the same truth comes from lots of different sources. It doesn't matter if it's the Celtic wisdom that Clyde and Mark are very fond of. It doesn't matter if it's the Hindus. It doesn't matter where it comes from, because I finally discovered after years of buying endless books that the same truth was in each book. So we can study different books because they say it differently, which allows it to touch us in a way that maybe we haven't heard it before. It's the value of having different speakers. It's honestly why I would like you to talk. Because when you say it your way, it doesn't sound like when Doris says it my way. And I'm perfectly willing to talk. I don't even need a microphone. However, having it said in different voices makes it much more powerful for everybody else in the room. So we see the commonalities between the 7 chakras and the 12 powers, and you may know other systems that replicate that concept. It is all a practice. And when we judge ourselves, remind me of your name, I'm sorry. Kathy, that's right. As Kathy was saying, when we get stuck in this place of, I can't, I'm not good enough, they can, not me. When we get stuck in that place, it's because we've become attached to a particular outcome. The person I love shouldn't have died. The job I had shouldn't have fired me. Doesn't matter what it is. We get attached. There shouldn't have been an accident in the channel of the Miami Harbor on the day that my boat was docking. Like I have control over that? What's going through your heads? What do you think about this?
When I was 9 years old, I was hit by a car, and it knocked me 50 feet through the air and took a piece of my shin bone, about 2 inches, and totally knocked it out onto the pavement. And it took me, I guess, about 6 months or more to recover. I had that metal plate in my leg. It was, I think I survived. I think that was a good thing. But it was, it had an effect 20 years, 17 or 18 years later, and the Vietnam War was raging, and I was drafted. And because of that metal plate in my leg, I didn't qualify. So it turned out to maybe have saved my life.
Thank you. I'm guessing that many of the significant people in your life you met by chance. I'm guessing that if you wouldn't have lost job X, you would never have gone into job Y. And sometimes we don't take advantage of those opportunities. Our nemesis is always fear. What can we be afraid of? How can person A or person B, how many times has your intuition told you not to go down a particular street at a particular time? Have you turned inadvertently on one street when you really meant to go 3 blocks farther, and then there was a big traffic jam or a wreck or something there? I know that your lives are filled with those things, if you notice them. And we're in such a weird place in our country right now, where we're afraid to talk to our neighbors because they may have different opinions than we do. How can we create a space of understanding and respect to talk to them? We don't have to try to change their mind, and we don't have to let them change ours. I had a long conversation when I was at the village that was about family members, and family members who are on a different side than we are. It doesn't matter which side you're on. And how you deal with them. Do you still see them? Do you still get together with them? Has the family reunion not happened now in 5, 10, 20 years? because of. How can you make a difference? See, these are all the ways that when we really truly believe that we are a facet of God, not Shirley MacLaine on the beach going, I am God, but Wanda's facet, my facet, Noelle's facet. Those are all different facets, and yet they're facets of the same God. My favorite image is thinking about, a really beautiful gemstone and all the different facets, and it's because of the facets that it catches the light the way it does, that it shines, that you're impressed with it. And if each of us don't bring our talent, the world's missing it, and we don't know what the world needs. We can't remember that we are divine.
You got to do the work. You got to do the work. And every day I just have to remind myself, I have to do the work. All of this wonderful teaching and love that we feel when we come here just sort of dissipates during the week if I don't do the work every single day. There's a fun country song that says, I don't like the ones I love. I don't like everybody that I love. And I don't feel the need to agree with every single thing my sisters say and do, and because I still love them and they're going to live their lives, and whether I like some of their choices or not, and I don't have to do that. But doing the work for me means every day through whatever, prayer, meditation, conversation, engagement, I just have to remind myself of those lessons. And there are many, many lessons every day I have to remind myself of.
Kind of what's interesting to me is that we can read the newest book that just comes out, and, that's what's true. And we can read the same thought in a book written over 100 years ago. Now, it's going to be expressed differently. The examples are different. The examples in Discover the Power, when you're reading it, seem antiquated. But most of us are old enough to remember what it's referring to. So, truth is truth. Some of us have an allergy to the word Christian, but the truth that's in the Bible is no different than Don Miguel's truth. Do you see what I mean? And if we use the word allergy rather than a different word, sometimes that word allows us to look at it differently. So when we say our repetitive truths, sort of listen to yourself. When my son Jeff was a teenager, and every time he left the house, I was never sure if he would walk back in alive because of his current choices at that time. I always used to just say the prayer for protection for him. And not to an outer God, but to the wisdom that I knew existed in him, that did have the power to make the best choice, that did have the power to, it didn't matter if he was jumping off a 30-foot cliff on a snowboard or doing things in the woods with other teenagers that we don't want to talk about. So all of those things are part of what we hold, and what we're holding for him really is wisdom, understanding, order, So I invite you now to just take a breath and sit with me. Perhaps putting your feet on the floor, perhaps opening your hand. And we do that to signify our openness and our willingness to receive wisdom from all places. We draw in the wisdom of Mother Earth. We call forth the wisdom of Father Sky. all of the various words and phrases that we have been exposed to over the years. Inhaling the breath of life. Not one of us did a thing to be born, and yet here we are. We accept this gift called life. We can choose to accept the other gifts that are innately ours by whatever name they're called. And then we can remember. Remember that we are a single facet, a single flash of consciousness, and that every human alive and breathing has these same gifts. They may have not been aware, they may have not developed them, they may cut them off from their life, but we know the truth for them, and we call that prayer. The people who call for healing, the people who call for prosperity, the people who call for those things for other people. We remember that our thoughts, our words, our feelings all continue to express this truth. A minister named Lucille Olson wrote a song called Our Thoughts Are Prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a place of truth and rest, and know that God is always there, in the prayer and in the prayed for. Breathing into the stillness. We are grateful for each facet on the gem of consciousness that is expressed on planet Earth. We are grateful for the consciousness of those individuals who are highlighting what needs to be healed. We are grateful for the consciousness of those who are doing the praying. We join in consciousness with those praying across the world in whatever manner they pray. Whether they are addressing their Father who is in heaven, whether they are addressing Allah, matters not. We hold the consciousness of prayer. and we are grateful. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. This is the part of the service when I remind you that we are grateful for all offerings, and they often come through our consistent givers who give every month in their own ways. We also actually accept cash and checks, and we have a square at the back of the sanctuary that accepts all credit cards and easily sends you a receipt. So we also are grateful for all of those who shop at King Soopers and designate us. You know, there are lots of ways that we are given to, and we are grateful for all of you and all the ways that you give. Please join me in our offertory affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. We're going to bless your own inner child, since the rest of our children are not here today. So, look, there are actually some of our children up there for a change. Please notice that those are our children. So, you are loved, special, and important. We see you and bless the divine being that you are. And together, the light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. The presence of God watches over us. I am that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.